Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Aftermath series. Let us waste no time at all and dive right into this week's episode of Critical Role. So in this episode we did have quite a bit of planning. There was a lot of planning with the initial cave scenario where the Yetis had taken up shelter within this myth burrow area. The party was trying to figure out how best to deal with this situation. And honestly, I love whenever the party tries to make plans because one of my favorite things to do is to watch Matt's facial expression as they go through their thought process of their various plans. Sometimes he nods and believes that it's probably a good idea. Other times he shakes his head, and other times he's just blank-faced, he doesn't even know how to process the information that's coming at him. All in all though, I do believe the party came up with a few solid plans, and I for one was definitely on board for the whole Yeti costume idea. I definitely think that would have worked, and may have caused the party to bypass a lot of the issues that they encountered. Of course, I'm being 100% sarcastic. I don't think it really would have accomplished anything. But still, it would have been hilarious if they had attempted to do so. We also did get a very touching Caduceus, Clay, and Ford moment where Caduceus is just further trying to help Ford come to an understanding of where he's at in the world, where he places himself, and what potential paths lay ahead of him. Now, Caduceus is definitely trying to guide Ford towards the Wildmother because he believes that the Wildmother is Ford's best bet. And at this point, honestly, I think Ford is fine with that. I think he would be open to any other deity. He just wants his powers back. And through this commune that Caduceus did for Ford, the Wildmother did confirm that she would give him abilities if he pursued a following in the Wildmother. But just that whole conversation that Ford and Caduceus were having, it just really showed how wise Caduceus is. We all know that he does lack in general intelligence, but moments like these really showcase the pure wisdom that Caduceus has. And now, after the party had completed their long rest within this cave, they ventured further, trying to locate this dragon within its supposed lair. And thus, we got one of the most intense situations of the campaign so far. Bear in mind that the party is level 9, and they came face to face with an ancient white dragon. Just the entire buildup of this scenario, the planning, the placing the objects, making sure the spider was in its place, and then Matt's description of the dragon revealing itself. It was just so anxiety-inducing. I was completely stressed out. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then I suppose everything worked out. I mean, they ended up actually getting the mithril infused with the ice breath, creating ice flex. And then Nott and Jester had their moment within this ancient white dragon's lair, where Nott was tempted to gather some trinkets that were nearby, and she gave in to her temptations and retrieved a few curious objects. But then she also got Jester to leave a little trinket of the Traveler behind, because of course the Traveler would love to have one of his own relics within the lair of an ancient white dragon. So despite all of the stress and chaos that was happening in that moment, Nott and Jester stayed true to themselves and did what they had to. But then with Jester and Nott dimension dooring down, sprinting down this cavern, the ancient white dragon in hot pursuit, Nott and Jester and Rini were all barely able to make it into the dome as the ancient white dragon pounced on it but couldn't penetrate the dome's impenetrable barrier. And you better believe I was screaming along with the rest of the party as the dragon tried to get through. And then just that intense moment of the white dragon staring them down, trying to figure out how to get in, and then the party frantically making this teleportation circle to get the heck out of there. Just that entire series of events is just one of my favorite aspects about Dungeons & Dragons. High risk, high stress situations like that just make me fall in love with the game all over again. But before we move on, Nott did notice something rather peculiar within the lair of the white dragon. This strange ancient contraption with strange purple glowing orbs. Now it's possible that this contraption is from the Calamity or pre-Calamity, most likely from the Age of Arcanum, but what it does, honestly, No idea. Perhaps the party can do a little bit more research into its potential origins. And one other concerning thing is that the party have taken things from this dragon's lair, and well, we all know that dragons typically don't like that, and the dragon did mention that he has their scent. So I certainly don't think we have seen the last of Geladon. But with all of that said and done, the party did it. They got what they came for. And now, as the party makes their way back to Uthadern, perhaps we'll get another time skip. I'm not really sure what other pressing matters the party has at the moment, and I don't think that reforging this blade will be a simple task. So while Umi finishes fixing this broken blade, perhaps we'll have a few weeks of downtime. And if not a few weeks, maybe a few days. I believe the next big event that's coming up is potentially Traveler Con. So if there's going to be a larger time skip, it might be around that time. Or perhaps with the sword completely forged, they may try to find out more information on where Oban and Yasha and the Laughing Hand are. But I, for one, am super interested to see where Ford's story arc is going to be heading. I really hope the Wildmother takes him under his wing and he can reclaim his warlock powers. We also do know that Caleb is interested in this assassin that still resides within Rosohna. We're not entirely sure if they're still alive, but if they are, Caleb will definitely want to speak with them once more. So it's clear that there's a lot of different paths the party can take now, and it's not quite apparent which one they will ultimately go with. But I think the likely one is Ford trying to further understand where he's at, and Caleb definitely returning to Rosohna to have a conversation with this assassin. Perhaps the party will make their way back into the Empire, as Caleb may want to seek out Astrid. Maybe they'll go back to Nicodranus and talk with Yusa back in the tower. Maybe ask him how he thinks they should deal with the Laughing Hand, and if he's come across any new information. Definitely a lot of different avenues, and definitely a very exciting episode. But with all of that being said, we are going to wrap up. Let me know all of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions during that episode. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next week.